As the lights dimmed and the ads changed into trailers, which were really just more ads, the ghost said loudly, probably because he figured no one could hear him, "Ah, here we go. Finally, something new to watch." Pushing my lips together in a pensive frown, I glanced down at his glowy blue head from several rows away. 2 thoughts occurred to me then. This was going to be a very long movie if he talked through it the whole time, and his voice sounded vaguely familiar. I was terrible at placing names and faces out of context, like if one actor was in a rom-com movie and then a few years later I saw him in a thriller, it always took me forever to figure it out. I was even worse with voices. At various times during the trailers, the ghost made several comments. Some of them were funny, but most were annoying. "Oh wow, that brick house has aged well. Look at that! Computers can do some amazing things nowadays. Who would want to watch a movie about that? Never would have thought that a space movie about teenagers wielding super dangerous hand-cutting off swords would become such a big deal." I would have gotten super angry with his comments if I hadn't been so distracted trying to figure out where I'd heard him before. My mind whirled as I tried to place his voice with his face. It was so distracting that I barely paid any attention to the trailers. By the time the movie finally started, I'd remembered and felt so stupid that I'd forgotten in the first place. Sure, there were ghosts everywhere, and I'd heard hundreds, maybe thousands, talk over the years, but I had spent time with only a few. There weren't that many teenage boy ghosts I'd talked to over the last few months, and it certainly wasn't the one I wanted it to be, but perhaps the one I needed. I gasped as the opening scene started, earning weird looks from Emma, Addie, and a few others in front of us. I sunk lower into my chair, feeling dumb and buzzing with energy. Finally, there was something I could do. I'd been looking for that exact ghost earlier that very morning, and there he was, sitting in a random movie theater I'd just happened to also be in. What were the odds of that? Too bad we were also surrounded by a theater full of people where it would be impossible for me to talk to him without gaining unwanted attention. I might have been able to focus on the movie and wait out my chance to talk to him with a jiggling knee if he'd just kept quiet, but he was worse than Brandon. Perhaps Brandon would have been this bad if he'd figured no one could hear him. A small smile perked up my lips for a second as I imagined Brandon sitting next to me, dropping his usual dumb comments. As it was one of the longest movies I didn't watch. At one point, there was an action scene where a few motorcycles were chasing a van full of the good guys inside. They were shooting at each other and doing stunts, impressing Frank very much. "Whoa! Off the hook!" he exclaimed with a jump as one of the motorcycles blew up. "Did you see that?" He looked at the people around him, but, of course, no one answered his question. "Aw, come on! Y'all are a bunch of stiffs. I'm more alive than any of you in here." I rolled my eyes, wanting only to tell him none of it was real and either computer graphics or carefully staged stunts. Finally, the movie ended and the credits started rolling to some kind of rap song I didn't recognize. People began packing up their stuff and gathering trash as they chatted. The lights slowly grew brighter.